Welcome to the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate Show. Whether you are an active or passive investor, we'll teach you how to scale your real estate investing business into something big.
Hey, Zach, welcome to the show.
Oh, great. Thanks for having me, man. It's good to be here.
My pleasure, man. You're kind of the rags to riches story. And you've done it, and maybe not rags. Obviously, you had a very, profitable window cleaning business, and you'd already figured out how to really promote that online and things like that. A lot of us as real estate investors haven't quite figured that out either. But I would love to kind of hear your story of where you started, where you are now, and how you got there.
Yeah. So it kind of is rags to riches. There was a point in my life I was sleeping on a cement floor in a sleeping bag. And so, I didn't want that for myself, and I don't want that for my family. And I got into window cleaning, ran that business for like a decade. It was okay, but definitely wasn't what I wanted to be doing. It was just kind of like, well, this is a business I can afford to start. So this is what I'm starting. Like that was kind of how it started. I was actually 17 when I started it. And from the outside looking in, I knew what I was doing. I had my own business. But I wasn't satisfied, especially the day my son was born. It's supposed to be the most amazing day of your life. And I was excited to be a father and love my wife dearly. And I couldn't help but think, how am I going to pay these medical bills? And I had dabbled and tried to get into investing. I had a duplex and lived on one side, did the house hacking thing, which was great, but I still didn't have lots of money. Right. And it sucked. And I learned about wholesaling. And so I had paid like 10 grand for a course and it sucked. it was not a good course, man. Yeah. There's great ones because I got another one and I paid 9 grand for it. And a month and a half later, I did my first wholesale deal. And,
right.
and I love the guy. His name's Tom Kroll. He's my friend, my mentor still to this day. I pay him a lot of money to mentor me and to help me. And, I love them and I believe in mentors. I think they're great, right? So much so I became a mentor. It was not planned and I can share why. Definitely did not plan to do that. But, it's pretty crazy to go from, barely able to cover bills, really struggling to having tens of thousands of dollars just sitting around. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I need to learn how to invest now because I've got lots of money coming in from wholesaling. And it was quite the transition, man. It really, really was going from barely scraping by, washing windows, shoulders, got major rotator cuff problems to being able to walk outside and make tens of thousands of dollars in a matter of a few days. It was just crazy.
Right. Yeah. That's a transition that, it sounds easy when you talk about it, but I know you took some bumps and bruises, and you made some mistakes along the way. So kind of walk us through that process. Like obviously you said hiring a mentor was part of it, but what was that evolution of your business like, and kind of how did you strategically grow it?
Yeah. So, beginning of 2017, I was done. I was so sick of the window cleaning industry. I had met Tom Kroll and his partner, and I decided I wanted to get into wholesaling full time. Like, I trust this guy. I want to go for it. And I told my business partner, my window cleaning company, I was like, I'm done. I quit. If there's profits, pay me. If not, I quit. And he's like, what? You're going to lose everything, which I didn't have a lot to lose. So,
right. Okay.
And at that time, my wife was pregnant with our second, and I had my little boy. We were living in a single family house. I still had my duplex, but I had a couple months before I wouldn't be able to pay the bills.
Right.
There was no chance for failure.
Sure.
And no option. Right. And I did my first wholesale deal April of 2017. And the big difference that I got from Tom and what I teach my students is how important it is when you're finding a mentor that you get step-by-step instruction, that they leave nothing up to you as far as like what to do and how to do it, right? That they give you a marketing system, right? So many people will tell you about subject tos or wholesaling or what to do with a deal, but nobody tells you how to find a deal.
Right.
Right. And so, he gave me some instruction to do wholesaling, and I did that first deal. And it was like, wow, this is amazing. Like I did my first deal. I made $10,000 on the deal. I was still very much in the red, but I could cover some bills for a few months. And by the end of that fiscal year, by January, I had done about $115,000 in income, and about 30 of it went to marketing. So I did really well. I did like really, really well compared to window cleaning.
Sure.
And even though we had done $500,000 with window cleaning the year before, and I had 3 trucks and 13 employees, I made way less money with the window cleaning business and way more work there than with the wholesaling. And I was like, wow, I really want to do more of this. But at the beginning of 2018, my deals dried up. I didn't do a deal in January. I didn't do a deal in February. And I was like, crap, what do I do? And there were some things that happened with the marketing that I was using that just wasn't working. I was buying lists from ListSource and a few other places, and those lists were just oversaturated at that point. I had marketed to them, other people were marketing to them, and I just couldn't find a lead. And so I started researching and trying to figure out a way to find more deals. And I learned about driving for dollars. I watched a YouTube video and I was like, aha, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I went out and started writing down addresses and adding properties, and it took forever to build a list. I built a list of like 70 properties. It took me weeks. And I was like, okay, let's try it. Cold called it, sent postcards. I got a lead and I made $7,000 off of 70 properties. I was like, okay, great. This is good. Like I might be able to survive. and then I started scrambling, recruiting all these bird dogs. Right. And was trying to figure it out. And then I learned about Dealmachine, which is an app that allows you to add hundreds of properties. They kind of launched.
Right.
And by the end of that year, I had done just shy of $500,000 because of driving for dollars. And it was amazing. But I mean, for the first time, I was able to walk into the bank and write a $50,000 check and pay off debts. I took my wife to Hawaii. I went fly fishing to Alaska. Like I had freedom. I had peace. Like for the first time in my life, I saw potential of something more. Right. I was able to pick up a handful of properties, like subject to seller finance. Right. I was building my portfolio, and it just opened my eyes to the potential.
Right. How did you, doing that many deals, again, that's awesome. One, congratulations for doing that. There's a lot of people that talk about it and then, never make it happen. But scaling that fast requires, like you said, a lot of systems and a lot of step-by-steps. And was your mentorship program kind of that thing that helped you organize what you were doing?
Not really, not at that point. He had his main goal is to help you get your first wholesale deal. And he helped me a lot. And I was hungry for success more than anything. It was a lot of work. It wasn't easy. Like you said, success doesn't come easy. I believe the process is semi-simple, right? If you understand what the process is. The problem is most people don't really know what the process is. And there was a lot of trial and error. Right. And honestly, I looked at it and I felt like I was just lucky. Does that make sense? I hit that $500,000. I was like, how the hell did I do that?
Right.
Like I just went from barely scraping by to hundreds of thousands of dollars in my savings account. Like honestly, I was kind of pinching myself. I was thanking God. I was so, no, really like I don't want to be like, oh, look at me. I know everything. Like sure. I was shocked. Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a lot of clarity and understand where I was at until there was a major shift. So at the end of that year, I had an opportunity to speak at a real estate event that was actually put on by Tom Kroll, and spoke there and talked about what I was doing and shared my success. And there were some people that reached out and wanted help, to implement my driving for dollars system. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I could tell you, but I was so busy. I didn't really think much of it. And I got their emails, and I kind of put it on the back burner, right? Because it's so busy.
Sure.
And at the end of that year, I read a self-help journal. I was invited by my friend to read it, or do a self-help journal. It's called Living Your Best Year Ever by Darren Hardy. And the first 100 pages, it's all about creating 3 big goals and what you have to do to accomplish those goals. And so one of the big goals I had created is I wanted to do $1 million in revenue the next year. But honestly, I didn't know how I did the $500,000. So I was like, okay, this goal scares me, right? This is a big, hairy goal, hairy, audacious goal, right? Like they say. Right. And, but in there, it said I had to give away whatever I wanted to receive.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I have to give away $1 million. How in the hell do I give away money I don't have? And frankly, I don't want to give away $1 million, right? For sure. I want to make $1 million.
Correct.
And so I was talking to my wife. I was like, what do you think? Like, how do we do this? And we got talking, and I was like, I have people that want me to teach my system. I could teach other people what I'm doing, teach them how to fish, not just give them a fish. They could put $1 million in their business, and the universe will respond, I guess, or God will give me my reward. I didn't know what the hell was going to happen. Honestly, I was just going at this with faith.
Sure.
And I got started. I brought on like the first 10 guinea pigs. I made them pay me, so I knew they were committed. One of my first students, Michael McLeish, actually just posted, I think a few months ago, that he has now generated over $1 million in his business.
Wow.
Yep. And his main system is driving for dollars. Michael McLeish, he's in his business is in Greenville, South Carolina.
Sure.
Anyways, I started teaching these people my system. And the funniest thing happened. They started asking me questions that I hadn't thought about. I had to be accountable to them. So I had to step up my game. Right. I had to understand the systems. And because I had to spend so much time serving my students, I had to find people to do the work for me in the wholesaling business. And I had to build a team. And I ended up selling all of my rentals that I had accumulated because they were costing me time. And I was so focused on my goal and focused on serving my students that I built this amazing team. Now I've got a team. I'm doing deals in Tampa. I'm doing deals in Utah. And all I do is look at my KPIs and show up to team meetings.
That's impressive. And you still got your hair. So at one point I had hair. You probably can't see this if you're listening to it, but that sort of explosive growth is when I actually went bald. No joke intent, or no, not trying to be funny, but it's serious. Like, my gosh, that sounds super stressful. Like, obviously, so walk us through that, because somehow you figured out.
Let me explain. So when we die and we're at our funerals, right, and we're listening to our eulogies, what do we want people to say about us? So when I started coaching, right, I found what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I found what gets me up in the morning and keeps me up late at night with a giant smile on my face. Like, I did $1.2 million that year that I had set a goal of doing $1 million. But more, like, I get emotional every time I say this. I get the chills. Like, I found a love for serving, for coaching, and for helping other people, right? I love it. I've been up late every single night writing a financial education presentation that I'm going to give for free, right? Like, I'm constantly looking for ways to serve other people. And so it was all mission driven. I knew that I had to automate my wholesaling business for me to have more time for my students. I sold my rentals to have more time for my students. And the funny thing is, the more love and the more that I gave, the more that it attracted A players to my team to want to be a part of what I was doing, because they saw that I had the right heart. Right. And I pay very generously to my team, and they take ownership of their responsibilities. Just between Tampa and Utah, we're now adding 4,000 addresses to our marketing list every single week. And I have two drivers.
4,000
addresses. So we just opened up Tampa not too long ago. Like 2 months ago. We've already done close to 100,000 in revenue, but I was putting the team together. But yeah, that should generate well over 2 million next year.
Wow. That's fantastic. where even to go from here? I mean, you've done so much and you figured out your systems, you figured it out fast. Like, I mean, that hats off to you. But I guess when you, I know you said you did it because you love it, but who was the first hire? Like, who'd you say, all right, you're the first person on my team. How did you train them? That's one of the things that we often struggle with, is even how to train that first person, because they're filling a seat that you used to previously fill. So how did you navigate that so fast?
Yep. So Hayden has been with me for a couple of years. He was my first hire, still with me.
And he's there locally?
Yeah, he's local to Utah, here to me. And he was following me on social media, and I was posting about what I was doing, right? Because remember when I said you start to tell people, or I started telling people what I was doing and serving and adding value and finding love in that, putting $1 million in other people's businesses. He said, what's this? Right? Because I was posting on social media.
Sure.
And so then I said, hey, I need someone to help me in my business. And so he texted me. He literally said, what's this shindig all about? I'm interested. Right. And he knew me from growing up. And so we got talking, and he started doing everything and anything that I needed. He was driving, he was sending postcards, he was hustling. And then he started helping me recruit other people. And then he started doing appointments for me. And last week, we calculated how many deals he's acquired. He has now been the acquisition and disposition manager on about $1.4 million worth of wholesale deals for me.
Wow.
And now his position is much bigger than that. He sits in on all my KPI meetings. He sits in on all the team meetings. He trains all of our cold callers. We have 3 cold callers. He trains the acquisition manager in Tampa, and kind of oversees all of our sales and disposition, title work, all that. Works with our attorney on any issues. And then partway through, I hired Miguel. Miguel runs all of my marketing now. So he was a friend of mine that I met in Brazil when I lived in Brazil for a couple of years. So I served a Christian mission down there when I was in early 20s. And we were really good friends down there, and he had some things happen in his life. He ended up coming up and seeing me and staying for a little bit. And so I was like, hey, you want to drive, make some money while you're here? I was just like scrambling, anyone that can help me, like, we're going way too fast. Right. And he ended up meeting a girl and ended up deciding to stay. And he took a position in my company to help manage all of my marketing. He's really system oriented. He helped run his father's business in Brazil. And now he's amazing. Now he manages my driver in Tampa. He does all my marketing, puts together all my text messaging campaigns, buys all my phone numbers, uploads them for the cold calling team, puts together all my KPIs, runs and manages my CRM system. I literally get to sit down every Wednesday in his office with my acquisition manager. We look at our KPIs, where money's coming in, where money's going. And I sit on the team meetings on Monday and share some gold nuggets that I had learned and pour into my people and constantly add value, buy them books, education courses, whatever they ask for. And I sit back and watch it grow. I'm not even hiring people at this point.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Good for you for figuring that out. That's fantastic growth. And you've done it. It sounds very intelligently. Let's jump into the final 4. If you were to distill everything you know down to one piece of advice and you were giving it to an aspiring investor, what would that one piece of advice be?
Man, one thing that's tough. I would say real estate investing is marketing. If you can't find leads, you will never have any kind of real estate investing business. Right. Marketing is key.
That's awesome. What's one thing you're currently doing to stay on top of your game?
I'll share one thing that I'm doing that I'm really excited to share with people. So I'm moving to Florida. I'm going to go east of Tampa, towards like Lakeland and a market that I'm not in. And I'm going to take $1,000. I'm going to turn it into 40 grand in 40 days. I'm going to have a film crew follow me. I'm going to share it on my YouTube channel so you guys can follow along and learn what it takes to start from ground zero. Because like I've hit a certain level of success. You're like, oh, I'll never get there, right? At least I never thought I would get there. Like I was a window cleaner, right? So I wanted to show people what it takes to get started and make some money, so then you can go to that next level.
Right. So you're essentially, other than what you know about business, you're starting over financially, quote unquote, $1,000 and you're going to turn into 40 grand in 40 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look forward. And what's, we'll plug this right here, but what is your YouTube or Instagram that we can follow that on?
Yeah. So DFD Mastery. So like driving for dollars, right? DFD Mastery is my YouTube channel. And my website has links to all my social media, dfdmastery.com.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And the third question is, when it comes to giving back, and I think you've already answered this, but what's one way you're making the world a better place?
I'm teaching people. I have free wholesaling courses, free financial education courses. Yes, I coach. I am a paid coach if you want, but I actually like coach people. So you can apply on my website. But yes, I want to change people's lives that way.
Right. That's awesome. And then of course, the last question is always, how do we get in touch with you? And I think you said that's dfdmastery.com.
Yep.
That's awesome. Zach, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. This was awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely.